pepper Ed puzzle.
Ooh, wonderful. We have Ed puzzle, which is a red pepper word. I just started recording, so we'll kind of go back. I had silver pin FlipGrid. Rebecca had
green tea, Microsoft Teams.
good. Robin?
Gray day Zoom breakout rooms.
Yeah. And Marco said he?
I said cup of mustard, love it.
Fantastic. Claire, how about you? Welcome. What are you doing with tech, and what color vowel is it?
I think I'm just gonna have to make up something really fast. How about black cat daffodils? They're just starting to bloom.
Very nice. Right here through Zoom, so that works for me. Hey, Lynn, welcome. We're picking a tech concept or a skill or a tool you're using and giving it a color vowel. Oh, we can't hear you yet, so go ahead and find your unmute. Almost. Let's see. Here you go.
Sorry about that. I hope I'm using silver pin FlipGrid next week.
There we go. All right, if this goes well, right? Hi, Katie. We'll do about 2 more because we keep getting folks. Katie, do you have one in mind?
Sure. After last week's session, I started using Blue Moon Zoom this week. So I'm excited for FlipGrid.
Now you're an old timer in Zoom. Fantastic. All right. And let's see, Joan, how about you? We'll do you as the last for now. A tech tool you've been using with its color vowel phrase.
Okay. Yeah, Blue Moon Zoom, or I found a great lesson planning site a long time ago called Black Cat Plan Board. It's free and it's great lesson planning. I love it. I hope they don't get rid of it. So. All
right. Well, I just posted Black Cat Plan Board over in the chat. So that's my next point of business today. Find the Zoom chat. And I just posted your phrase, not the actual.
Sure.
But if you haven't had a chance yet to mention one, I'm not sure how many folks. Well, maybe we have 2 more. So Cora and Now, for now, could you just be sure to post your tech and your color vowel phrase over in the chat, and we'll finish up with a few more like this. Okay. Wonderful. Well, welcome to Friday at 5. I'm Karen Taylor, and we'll be doing this as we have been now. This is our second one. We'll be doing it every Friday throughout the coronavirus, what do we want to call it? The saga that is ongoing. We want to support you with any kind of demos we can provide and just ideas around educational technology. So today's topic is one of my favorites, which is FlipGrid. How many of you, just a raise of hands, are already using FlipGrid in some way? And okay, how about thumbs down if you haven't used FlipGrid yet and you're here so you can feel comfortable getting started? Yeah, all right, okay, good. So I do love using FlipGrid. I've been using it for the courses that we teach here from Color Vowel Basics. And so we'll go ahead and I'll show you. We'll just sort of start from the beginning. I had a couple of good conversations this week with teachers who were getting up and running with it and sort of needed, I found, some sort of schemata or just a sense of what is what in here. So these are my grids. I have 29 of them. Each one is a course. So first of all, if you're taking any notes, a grid is a course. Think of it like that. Okay, so a grid is going to contain a lot of assignments within it. And each one of these grids contains different students, different tasks, and so forth, okay? I'll just say from the beginning that once you've created a grid, you can duplicate it. So, you know, if you have a type of course that you teach every semester, the work you put into your first grid for that course is going to pay off because you can duplicate it and continue fine-tuning it, okay? But for now, I'm going to just add a new grid so we can just walk through the basics of that. And we'll call this FlipGrid. Okay, because I think we'll do something with this at the end. We'll call it FlipGrid. FlipGrid is the name of my grid or my course. And you have a couple of options here to select the type. If you're working within a school where you're using, say, a Google School email for the students, or Microsoft Teams type memberships, then you'd use that. Student ID is, you'd create a list of student IDs. And I think the not for you part refers to just privacy issues. So these two are really relevant to working in schools. And this is more, I think, about children probably. And I'm not sure, this could be like IEPs or adults. Anybody have a thought, Rebecca, or one of our more experienced people? Has anybody ever used student ID?
Yeah, it works nicely if people don't have a reliable email or anything like that, or if they don't have email at all, they can log in with the code instead of an email.
Wonderful. Okay, that's great to know. Thank you. The one I use all the time is this one, public and PLCs. Not sure what PLC actually stands for, but if you know, you can put that in the chat. But the public ones are for, we who are just out there, not within a school, but we're our own organization, okay? So I click on that as my choice, and then you create a flip code, and it'll assign you one, or you can say, I'm gonna call this Cat's FlipGrid, just for fun, Cat's FlipGrid, or Color Vowel FlipGrid. How about that? Ooh, Color Vowel FlipGrid, and it's available. Go figure. Color Vowel FlipGrid. So let's click next, and we'll keep an eye on our notes in just a second here. We'll add a password. I tend not to offer a password. It's not that high confidentiality, of course, but you certainly can. But just be sure you give something that students can find easily and you post it somewhere, okay? We won't do that right now. 2 quick notes. Anyone with a flip code can join, and you need to have a Microsoft or Google account to record. Rebecca, do you know anything about the folks who use that second option who might not have email? How do they go about that? Or we're not sure. If you have thoughts on that, go ahead and post. But I'm going to click next. I now have a grid. So cool. I can copy this. I can send it in an email to myself just so I have a record of it and don't lose it. I can embed this grid into a website of mine. I can put it in Google Classroom, or I can stick it over in Remind if that's an app that you use. Otherwise, ignore those 3 things and go to your FlipGrid. Okay? So we have a FlipGrid. Any questions so far? Is this, was that fast, or you think you could replicate that? Yeah? Let's look at our questions over in the chat. We've got Google Classroom. Google Classroom is available to anyone who has a Gmail account. So yes, Robin, you do have that. If we have time, I can show you Google Classroom, but for now, let's just say it's a lot like the purpose of Blackboard, only not quite so old, and available to all kinds of people. Okay, so it's pretty neat. Yeah?
And it's pretty streamlined with other Google functions. It like integrates Google Slides and Docs and Gmail and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I have a question. If you don't work for like a real school, like an official, like a school system, which one of those options is best if people just have like a regular Gmail account?
When you're setting up the course, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 3rd one, the public.
Okay.
Yeah, I set up public because I'm not a school. And I tried messing with the other 2, and it was clear that I wasn't part of that world, right? Okay. So I have a business, I have a small business, and I just use the public PLC. Okay. Yeah, any other questions?
There's another question there.
Yeah. All right, so we have all kinds of folks. Rebecca, I want to thank you in advance. Rebecca is, by the way, she is our featured guest. So I'm going to shine a light on Rebecca here. Next week, she'll be our featured guest host for a session on basically classroom platforms that you can work in. So that includes Google Classroom, by the way, Robin. So join us next week, because Rebecca is a wealth of knowledge about everything from the old Blackboard to Schoolology and EduBlog. I don't know. You're going to go on and on about all those options, about how
Don't oversell it. Don't oversell it.
Don't oversell. She's amazing, and you'll love her. Okay, great. So yeah, please look in the chat, because you'll see folks answering and asking questions there too. And I'll trust that. I think Jennifer's in the room. Just interrupt me if I need to answer something, right? Publicly. Okay. Great. So we're here in our FlipGrid now, and it looks pretty sparse, but look at what they provide you. They're letting you know, first of all, they've given you a graphic, and you're like, well, I don't want just this graphic. I want something else. So you can edit this top piece and decide what you want it to look like. So if you come down a bit, the settings are pretty good, and you can leave them the way they are until you decide you're ready to click around. And so one of my sort of mantra that I want anyone who feels tech fearful in the room, and you can just decide who you are. If you're tech fearful, I want you to learn to say, I'm not afraid of clicking around. Because you're not going to kill anything. You know, it's just a matter of like, oh, that's what happened. You really need to be tech curious when you're playing with a new tool like this. So do that. Make a test grid and start clicking around. You can play with notifications and so forth, or you can just keep going and play with the fun stuff. So I can personalize this. I can say I want a bunch of kids or a bunch of books, or I could even upload one of my own images right up here, okay? And it's a little bit picky. It wants certain kinds of files of certain sizes, and you can figure out whether you're up for that or just pick something that you like, okay? Sometimes the cosmetics of a tool are kind of soothing so that you're ready for the next steps issues. So we can update our grid. It looks a little nicer now. I'm feeling pretty good. I have a flip code that I can send to my students at any time. And when I do that, this also gives me a view of what they see so far. So this is like looking at the website from the other side, right? There's already one assignment in place, which is kind of handy because if you come down here, you can actually post and see what it's like from the student side. So now I have two tabs open, you'll notice at the top. This is the student view, and this one is the teacher design view. Okay, this is where you'll design and view your students' videos once they have things to post. You can add a Copilot if you're co-teaching the course. That person will also have an educator's account. So if I look over here on the right side, you'll notice I have a little profile here. This is my educator's view. And if you don't see my grids and my activity and so forth, you're probably in the student view. So just know that there are several different views. There's also a third view at my.flipgrid.com. So you want to start getting used to knowing that you're in the educator profile, and you make that account and it's free, okay? All right, so coming back into our grid, we now have a name for the grid. We know where to find it. We can add a Copilot. I could look at actions and, oh, I can duplicate a grid. I can look at Microsoft Teams integration and put it over in that kind of a course management system. But these are all kind of more advanced, and you can just hold off on it. Because what we really want to do is make sure we can add assignments now that we have a course shell, okay? So the first assignment is to say hello on FlipGrid, and they'll always put this piece in there for you as the first topic. A topic is a task or an assignment. So we have two vocabulary words now. A grid is a course, and a topic is a task or an assignment. It's something they're going to do, right? When they go into what they're going to do, what does that really look like on the back side? Here you can see there's a title, there's some instructions. You could edit this, and doing that will help you get used to what a task looks like as you structure it. So say hello on FlipGrid, you can play with this and say introduction, self-introductions, right? You can decide how long it's going to be. How long do you want somebody's self-intro to be? Not 10 minutes. I don't even think I want it to be in 30 seconds, frankly. Anything you put up there, if you have a lot of students, the shorter, the better. They might feel very limited with, okay, fine, 45 seconds, I'll give them. The beauty of FlipGrid is that it encourages, I wouldn't even call it rehearsal. They'll start taping themselves or recording on their phone or their desktop, and then they'll decide they don't like it. And guess how many times they're going to re-record? Anybody have any experience with this? Liz, how many times have you re-recorded a post of yours?
I'd say probably, for me, 3 to 5.
3 to 5 now. How about you?
Yeah, the same, 3 to 5.
Yeah, 3 to 5 times. So
Yeah.
this is that kind of almost compulsive need to perfect your recording enough, because it's that authentic purpose of posting it to a public, which is your class. And I love that about FlipGrid, because I don't have to tell them that they record it 3 times. They just naturally do. So when I limit the time, they practice more, I find. If you have too much time, then it was so exhausting to get the 2.5-minute introduction done. They're like, I'm just done with it. So shorter the better is one of my principles, at least. I'll make it a minute. I can come in here and I could edit. So you kind of get the sense that here, I'm going to give extremely clear instructions. You want to let them know how long it's supposed to be, how short is the shortest it can be. It's 1.5 minutes long, say here, I say 1.5. What if they only leave a 5-second introduction? Is that okay with you? So you might say, your self-intro must be at least 45 seconds, right? So you can start to create some parameters for them to bounce around with, and that way they feel secure about the task. I did it. It was 45 seconds at least. What else do you want about it? Mention where you're from. You know, what is it you want in there?
Make sure we can see you.
Yes. Make sure, you know what I'm saying. Make sure we can see and hear you well, okay? So what I often use this for is this first activity. If I'm going to scroll to the very bottom for a minute, okay? Here we go, scroll, and we've gone to the bottom. There's feedback at the bottom, and they provide a default of ideas and performance, which you can use, but I like the custom feedback. And what you can see here is that I created each of these that are here. Adequate audio video quality. In fact, that's what I want for this assignment. A lot of these are color vowel teaching concepts, but you decide what you want. If you want them to be well organized because you've taught them how to be organized, you could evaluate them on that. But in the beginning of a course, this kind of activity really just needs to be as simple as be successful with a self-introduction. That's your assignment. Then I know you got into the course. I know you know how to use your phone or desktop to do this, and I can see and hear you. So I could update the topic even now, okay? Speaking of just our own tech, let's see here. I'm going to make Jennifer. Hey, where's Liz? I'm going to find Liz here. Liz.
What?
The dream come true is here. I'm going to make you a co-host as soon as I find you. And you're going, Liz is sort of my fearless co-host, and she's going to mute everybody that she can find. But I would like to ask everyone to mute, please. Okay. So here I am making Liz a co-host. There you go. Okay. So she's going to be my microphone watcher. Wonderful. Hey, so here we are. We have now self-introduction. Any questions up to this point? I'm going to read. Robin's asking, can we come back and use this FlipGrid later? I love these questions, and I may assign a topic in my AU class. So Robin, are you asking about this exact FlipGrid that I'm creating? Oh, you know, if I make you a co-pilot, you and I could be co-pilots on this FlipGrid.
She wants those categories at the bottom, right?
Oh, you want my categories? All right. Well, you know, I can share some of those, but you'll find really part of this is sort of, you have to create your own bank of things that make perfect sense to you. And if you happen to look, by the way, at mine down at the bottom, you're going to see a bunch of redundant ones because I've done and redone them. So, but you know, here's one I like. Includes a minimum of 15 words in this particular vocabulary activity. Or that was for the walkabout that we do. Or, you know, the R control gesture is effective when I'm teaching how to teach R control. So I try to get specific enough for the task, but I also try for some kind of global things that I always care about, like preparation's a little too global for me. I didn't end up using it. but adequate audio video quality sometimes comes up with people who feel like they can record anywhere, which they shouldn't. So yeah, so here's our lesson, and Robin, I'm happy to help you with those kinds of things if you're making your own. Let's see here. So now we want to add more. And if you want to add more, you're going to go back up to the top to your FlipGrid. That's the name of our course, right? And we can add a new topic. So here's our new topic. Maybe we want to call this my favorite activity ever, invented by Liz Bigler, actually, which is the color vowel walkabout. This is an activity I use in many of my courses. I've found that it's pretty effective making it 90 seconds. And the walkabout is, I won't go into all the details now, but detail 1, detail 2, detail 3. Notice that I don't know how to spell all the time, but also notice that over here, I have a word limit or a character limit. So you want to use this space very thoughtfully. I usually have some kind of an inspirational something, sentence, let's say at the top, detail 3, and something at the end, okay? So I use that space carefully. If I need to say a lot more, that's when you can add a video. Or if you need them to look at a lot more, you can add later on down below, I'll show you, you can add a document with those deeper and detailed instructions they need to look at. But what you want here is they should have enough information here to record themselves following what you have in mind, okay? So we've given them some detail. We could create the topic. If we create the topic, you have a code just for that topic, which can be handy, but I find the less I can complicate things, the better. So I just send everybody to the top grid address every time, and then they find all of the activities in one place. That's me. I know I've found where I accidentally, grabbed the wrong one of the activity codes, and so I often just ignore this piece. But you might find other reasons to use it because you're putting it into Google Classroom, for example, as part of an assignment, okay? So I just say all set. There we are. So now you think, well, what's this topic focus and what does this really look like? Well, I can always go back to my student view of this FlipGrid, refresh, and now that student sees, okay, that student sees the color vowel walkabout with the instructions that are so beautiful. And you do have to train the learner. There are 2 topics over here on the right side. So here were self-introductions. And if they scroll down, then here is the color vowel walkabout, okay? And again, this plus is where they would actually start to record themselves. So this would be me as a student recording my walkabout with my Google or my Microsoft account, but that's them.
Karen,
Yeah.
There was a question in the chat. If somebody doesn't have a Google or Microsoft account, are they still able to do it?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
They should be able to.
I've had students who get to this point and they can't, and then they have to log out and create an account with a Google, a Gmail, or a Microsoft account.
Yeah. Why do you think? Tell us more, Rebecca.
I did this with students at AU, and they didn't use Google or Microsoft accounts. They used specific university accounts. I think it really depends on how you set up the grid in the first place. If you're limiting them to what kinds of limitations you're putting on, whether you choose that first option, the second option, or the third option. But I'm not sure, so I don't want to say the wrong information. I think that if you use that third option, you might not need a particular kind of email, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, I yield to other people's experience.
That I set it up when I was teaching at the community college. And I set it so that they would log in with their college email, because I could match those emails with you know, with names, which you can't always do when they use personal emails, and they're not supposed to use their personal emails. They're supposed to use their college accounts for anything. Of course, but then I had people trying to log in with their personal email and I can't get in, and, you know, so that caused its own issues. You have to be really, really clear to tell them, you know, you need to access it, because you specify it needs to end with, so I said, you know, only allow people with nvcc.edu to log in, or whatever it was. So
Robin Ann has just posted a link to that question so that you can go and ask those questions in further detail. Okay. I love having my whole family in my house and my office. I did not just use the bathroom. If you just heard that toilet, it's so embarrassing. So anyway, they're running in and out of my office. My Lord. So here we are with FlipGrid once again, everyone. And now we have 2 activities. And notice there are a couple things I can do. I can reorganize how they appear so that when the student goes over here and refreshes, that the first thing they will see, or the top topic rather, is self-introduction. And then, so once we have 9 or 10 of these things, it starts to stack up and you can see what's most important or what we want to look at, okay? What else? We now have this color Vowel walkabout. I might want to dress it up a little bit. There's no topic focus, and the focus is pretty handy. I'll go back to edit for this topic, and I have lots of options for how I want to focus them on the task. I often use the video because I'm going to model exactly what I want them to do. Or I'm going to give them oral instructions that match, or at least build on the written instructions that they see here. So there are a couple of options there. This could be, you know, an inspirational kind of like, here we go. So here I am. I'm actually going to make a video in front of you because there are a couple of little quirky things to know about making videos. I'm just going to click the go. Hi, so this is our first activity of this course, and I'm asking you to use your imagination and get out there, walk around, and create your color Vowel walkabout using your phone. Remember that you can stop and start FlipGrid over and over while you're making your walkabout. So don't be afraid to pause. I'm going to finish up by saying blah, blah, blah. And notice that, see this little line here, how it's working its way around the circle slowly? This can be a very long video, right? So it's going to show me when I'm almost finished. It's going to be like a clock. And I could pause it and go do what I have to do, continue creating this video. I don't tend to do that a lot. I just create one video and move along. But when I'm done, I can then click, I have to click next. You can decide whether you want to play with all of these. These all have different, some of them are simply fun. Some of them are pretty useful, like the sticky notes. I think, Jennifer, you've been using sticky notes, haven't you?
yeah, students can write notes in there to themselves, and so while they're recording, if you tell them, I want you to speak, I don't want you to write it down and read to me, because you want spontaneous speech. They can like put the highlights of the 3 things that they want to talk about, and that will stay on while they're while they're recording.
Okay.
So it's just like a nice little note card for them to remember what to say as they're recording. It will not show up in their video. It's just for them.
Okay, so if I keep this, that might just be a place where I can look at what I want to say too. Okay, so if I click next, this is the key.
Hi, so this is our first activity of this.
So I'm watching myself and I'm deciding whether I like it sufficiently. I'm trying to be efficient, but I also have to make something that functions. So I may need to re-record, in which case I would click the X box, right? Are you sure you want to cancel? Yeah. Or no, I'll look at it some more. Or I finish it and I remember I forgot to say something. You can add more. If I'm happy with it, you click next, okay? And now this is the key to FlipGrid, everyone, that can be kind of confusing. With the student videos and with your own videos, FlipGrid always has you post a selfie for that video. So when you take this selfie, it's particular to that one video. And you can decide you have themes for it, like, I'm going to hold up some object that's relevant, or you just take a picture. Don't put too much into it. So here's, And then I click next because I think it's the most beautiful photo of me ever. And we move along. Okay, I get lots of bubbles, yay, confetti, and I'm complete. That's when you know you've finished the video, and no sooner than that. I've watched people get frustrated because they thought they recorded it and they ended up sort of hitting the X button and suddenly they don't have what they wanted.
Karen, once it's posted, that there's no going back though, right? Like you, as I recall, you can't take it back once it's posted, right?
You can just delete it.
Oh, you can?
Right here.
Oh.
So yep. So if you don't like what you did, you know, after a while, or you need to refresh this assignment with some new instruction, you delete your focus, delete it, and you start again.
Okay.
Okay, great. I use the Giphies a lot when I don't have time for a video. So, you know, I have the walkabout, walking, and I can look for Giphies and say, well, I'll use this for now. Fine. Something allows just engagement. We may think of these things as surfacey, but it's nice to have something that engages the learner. They remember that activity. So for now, here are the penguins. I can create attachments. I can attach anything from, my Google Drive or from my Dropbox, anything that's online. You can, let's see, that's a URL. That's the title for it. I don't think it invites you to actually upload a file. This is not like a website that's going to hold on to a document. Rather, everything's referring to other URLs. So this would be a very good use of your Google Drive. Okay.
And sorry, are you the student right now?
No, I am not the student. I am definitely the instructor. See all this business? And I'm editing, right? So right now I'm just talking about setting up, like, what would you put here? I might put my syllabus here, or I might upload a link or provide a link to the handout that goes with this activity. Maybe it's a graphic organizer for this speaking activity. So once we do that, if we grab something from, you know, I could grab, I don't have anything good to grab right now, but if I grabbed a document URL, then they can look at it, or they could even print it if that's what we want. Okay. Lynn asks, if we attach a URL to a Google Doc, will we need to have the doc shared? Yes, they have to be able to see it. So you'll want to change your settings so that that link is for anyone to view and not, say, to edit. So you'll have to get to know your Google settings pretty well. Okay. I didn't use this for a long time, but it's certainly handy. Okay. Topic status, if you want to do this work now, but this is not the time for this assignment, you can hide it so that you're doing your entire course in advance as far as these assignments goes, and then you can activate them week by week. I try to get a couple weeks in advance done for sure. I don't do much with the launch freeze dates. I rather use active and frozen. I'll show you what that means. Okay, so let's come up here and I'll sort of show you. Let me go ahead and save what we did, update the topic. Okay, fine. So now here's my student view, which Liz was asking about, student view, right? Student view, here we are. Come down, and now the student sees this, okay? And they can post by clicking here. They log in with their Google account or their Microsoft or what have you. You know, I choose one. I'm now posting as a student. I allow my camera and my mic, and this looks just like what we did when we posted the activity video from the teacher. Same kind of thing. Okay, good. I'd like to show you what this starts to look like. So I'm going to go back to my grids over here. These are all different courses. So when I have a course that I'm currently, I'll just pretend I'm currently teaching this one. This one we have a lot of tasks in here, as you can see. I have some that are hidden because we never got to those activities in this course, and I didn't want them to be distracted by them. But if this were a new course, I would inactivate all of these, right? I'd keep all of them hidden because I'm not ready for them to do these. And when the student views this course, they will get just the first two activities when they view it. So here I've done that, and I could actually view my course, sorry, view it here. Here's Color Vowel Basics 12, and
Karen,
all
that's
they
fine.
see.
If you want to pull one up, you can.
Say that again?
said that's my class if you want to pull one of mine out.
There we go. Thank you. So you'll see that now tasks 1 and 2 and your questions, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all hidden, right? And I could have also inactivated these. And so we can look, for example, at questions and stories. So here are all of my students' videos, and Lynn is a star. She was so awesome in the course. She posted all kinds of stories. And you can see she played with the title, the topic. She wore something different each day to dress up, but she had a lot of fun with these, and it was just wonderful. So I always leave an extra space for people just to share extra thoughts, and that's the idea bullet here, okay? Okay with you that I'm just gonna stay here for a minute and talk about what happens after a student has posted a video, right? So Lynn, we'll go ahead and take you as a good case. Thank you for offering, by the way. Notice how quickly I jumped on that.
Hi, Karen. I was just looking for the file with the crayon colors. Anyway, I looked on the teacher.
Okay, so she posted a thought that might pertain to the course. She had a question for me. It was a perfect place to do it. It's not getting buried in another different place like email. It's right here in FlipGrid. We're contained, and I can get back to her. Okay, I can reply with a video. Once again, every time we choose which account, I happen to do it under a bunch of different accounts, so I'll pick that one. Okay, here we are, and then I would say, you know, hey Lynn, if you go to the Color Vowel community and look under files, you'll find, I think it was Jennifer Campion actually who posted all of the Crayola colors that match the Color Vowel chart. And Shirley Thompson actually went to the Crayola factory and did a bunch of that groundwork too. So you'll find it over there in the community. Have fun. Okay, so that's just my quick response to her. I do my next. I already know I like it. I need to stop moving around on my ball. I can see that I'm pretty mobile. And then take my selfie and I move along, okay? So that loads up, and then she receives an email that I responded to her post. So I can submit, I can say Crayola question answered. Okay, link, we don't need that. Or I could provide her a link to that place in the community that I was sending her to if I wanted to. So I submit that. At this moment, students have these options. Right now I'm a participant or a student, if you will. I could download this picture because it's the most gorgeous picture ever. I could download the video because I think I want to use that somewhere else, okay? Or I could post this link if I'm going to go tell the teacher, here's the link. So there are lots of little options that students have, okay? I complete.
Hi, Karen.
And now
I was just looking.
You can see that there's a response from Lynn, a response from me. So this is peer or participant feedback in the public realm. Everybody can see these. Any questions about what we've been looking at here?
Yes. How do you get notified when somebody, when she left you those posts? How did you know that there was one there?
There are some settings in your account, but you don't want to generally, I mean, if you run enough courses, you don't want to be notified of every video that's being posted. There's a really cool feature. Let me see if I can find it. It is a neat one. If you go to My Grids, I'm now in a student view. If you're over here in My Grids and you go to My Activity, Liz, My Activity will give you a summary of the latest things that have been posted. It's like a news feed for all your courses, all of your participants. So I can go down and see that in real time, and that populates, okay? Is that new for you?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we're hopping around a little bit. There's obviously a lot more we could be learning, but we get the idea that you have a couple of different views, that you can keep perfecting your FlipGrid. You can add tasks. One thing I wanted to add, because I talked with a fellow color vowelist from the community who wanted to organize the tasks. So if we have, for example, my grids, and we've got FlipGrid, okay. Let's say I have, some things are speeches I want my students to give, some are walkabouts, and I have some tasks that are reflections. She was asking me if she has a bunch of those, if she could create folders. And FlipGrid remains very simple. One thing you can do is, instead of just labeling these, You can give them numbers to keep them in a kind of order for yourself and your students. But apart from that, there are no folders in FlipGrid. You can organize folders, say, in your classroom, if you have a Google Classroom or some other platform where you have those kinds of assignments. So just know that FlipGrid tries to keep it all pretty simple so you don't lose track of where things are, but you can always reorganize. And that's when I found myself renaming things and saying, okay, well, this is going to be just number 1. You know, I gave it a number 1 so I know what sequence it is in the course. I update it. And when I see number 1 and go back to my FlipGrid, I can see where number 3 is and number 4. So I do recommend, you know, being mindful of how you label things will help you a lot. A couple other neat features before we finish up. Mixtapes. Okay, so mixtapes are a place where you, the teacher, can organize posts from students across courses and collect those exemplars that you like to share. The closest example I can give you would be color vowel walkabouts, because that's an assignment I give from course to course. And I post my favorite ones over here. And now when you share this link with people, here's my link, I can copy and I can send it to you. I can send it to anybody. Here I am in my finding Zoom here for you. Come on, Zoom. Well, want to share a link with you. There we go. Over here in the chat, you'll see that I now have a chat to send you, everyone. Well, okay, so it's not, I didn't get to copy it. But anyway, what it looks like is, come on, there we go. This is what your students can view, is one place where they can play a bunch of videos. So here's Neil doing a walkabout.
Wow, here I am in the Silver Pin City.
And I can go then to Daphne. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of these.
Brown cow house plant.
Yikes. So I've got probably 15 or 20 different items in this mixtape, all of which I consider decent examples of the assignment. I can take that link and put it into my FlipGrid assignment as the thing I want them to watch, as the model. So your mixtape is a great kind of place to organize you know, the best examples of something. Okay, I'll close that down for a minute. Come back up to the top. Grid Pals is a new feature. I encourage you to click around. We'll find out what it is. I don't know yet. FlipGrid is very busy. I wanted to say that, by the way. These folks are developing new features all the time, and they have their own FlipGrid people posting videos constantly. So it's just any kind of handle you have on FlipGrid is enough. You don't have to master it all, because you can't. I don't even want to know, like, what is all this? Something's happening. Like, these are all the people in real time using FlipGrid. I have a feeling. That kind of scares me, so I'm going to move on to the disco library. You know, I just have no idea what to think when I start poking around, like, wow, it's a whole huge world. But don't be afraid, just enjoy it. If I come here, I can always go back. I seem to be in this strange world where I'm not allowed to go back, so I will close that. But I can always go back to my educator login, and we're back, okay? Again, Shorts is new for me. You know, we can always do more demos of very specific features, but today's goal was to get you feeling like you could go in and create your own grid. Specific, short, those are my two, you know, kind of big takeaways. Keep the instructions very specific, keep the times very short, and you'll be fine, okay? Any big questions before we start wrapping things up, or advice? Those of you that have used FlipGrid, what's your big advice?
Actually, I wanted to say something. Most of my students use FlipGrid on their phones, and they will make their video, and somehow they miss that screen. Karen said already that you're forced to take a selfie. On the phone, it's the tiny little word at the top that says, like, take a selfie. It's really small. And so my students get to that point, and then they're stuck, and then they end up like deleting it and trying it again. They can't get past that. So I would model how do you do it on the phone and point at that screen that says take a selfie, show them how to do it and show them how to advance, because I've lost a lot of students that way.
Okay.
Maybe make a FlipGrid of that process.
Great idea. Yeah.
I am happy to keep this FlipGrid if we want to add a bunch of co-pilots. Robin really likes this idea. So if your first baby step, if you're new to this, is to go in and create your FlipGrid educator account, then send me the email address that you used for that. And I will happily give this to you as a sandbox, a kind of a playground for you to do things in here, okay? You can, not in this whole FlipGrid, but rather this one, FlipGrid, okay? And I might rename it as our FlipGrid sandbox, FlipGrid sandbox for color vowelists. Okay, there, I kind of like that name better. And I'll keep the same URL because it works pretty well. I update it, okay? So you can come in here and start adding things, and it's just a very safe place that you don't have to worry about making mistakes in, okay? I want to remind you about Wednesdays at 1. Let's see, Jennifer, you're in the room. Can you remind us about Wednesdays at 1? What's coming up? We got some good stuff.
Well, just I'm reminding of what we did this week on Wednesday. So make sure you check the Facebook page for the links to see the ideas that we had for how you can use FlipGrid in your classroom. It's not just color vowel ideas, it's ideas of how to incorporate it with reading assignments, writing assignments, listening assignments. So trying to expand sort of what we use FlipGrid for. And you got me caught out next week. Next week, I think, is WhatsApp and lots of other different technologies is what we're going to be talking about on Friday. So we'll try and come up with, I think we are going to get together and brainstorm sort of ideas to use, what you could use each of these different apps for. So look, especially WhatsApp, WeChat, and one other that I can't remember.
WhatsApp, WeChat, and what's the third thing? I feel like I'm in the presidential debate. I can't remember the third thing. But what the theme is next week is beyond email. So if you, find your students aren't very responsive to email, you just think, what else is out there? There are entire courses organized in WhatsApp, or courses that are organized in something like WeChat, which is the sort of the Chinese version of WhatsApp. So that's why we decided we'd bring in someone who really knows about these things, Rebecca Wilner, who has organized, at least 10 or how many different groups did you pull through in WhatsApp?
Of courses, about 15 of just communicating with people, so many.
Yeah. Kind of the short picture that should inspire you is that WhatsApp is not just something on your phone, nor is Messenger, nor is WeChat. These are desktop applications. So you can do some very sophisticated things with these kinds of communication platforms, especially in the adult ed world, because the kids world is going to be a very different set of rules.
One of the things that has become increasingly talked about just in the last couple of days is that Zoom is getting hacked and things aren't very secure, and so schools are looking for things that have end-to-end encryption, and a lot of other things do have that, where some really easy to use things may not.
Right. So yeah, the world, and I'll just take this opportunity to say, can't we just thank Zoom for existing? A lot of us have been using Zoom for all kinds of reasons in the past, but suddenly it's kind of the world's telephone for video communication. And I think they've done a phenomenal job of staying up and running for all kinds of purposes. So
I just got an email from Zoom like a half hour ago. They're going to start requiring passwords, or it's going to be default, and also waiting rooms are going to be default. So, your next class, you want to be aware of that in case your next class and your students are like, I can't get on.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that, Joan. Definitely. Things will be shifting as they are. Liz?
I want to mention just in Japan, the WhatsApp and WeChat is called Line, just in case anybody needs to know that. And I wanted to ask, I know that you said it's on the website, but what is Wednesday? What time and what is,
Sure.
how is it different from Friday?
Yeah, so Wednesdays at 1 is at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight rather. Eastern Time. Jennifer's laughing at me. I don't do all those details. So it's Eastern Time, New York time, 1 p.m. on Wednesdays. And what we do then is we work together, Jennifer and I and other teachers, to post activities and sort of assignments, things you can do with students. So it's really much a lot about what you can do with students in a given application like FlipGrid. Fridays is a dive into the how-tos of that application. So that's like what we're doing now. So Fridays at 5, Wednesdays at 1. Wednesdays at 1, by the way, is no longer going to be just Facebook Live. It's, I think the first one some of you saw was just live in Facebook, but we're actually using our webinar platform. So you can go to Facebook Wednesdays at 1 and you'll see where to sign up. You can sign up in advance though, and that's a little bit more sort of planned, and then you'll get a reminder about it. What's nice about our webinar platform is that then you automatically get the recorded version without waiting, and you can share it with other people and they can watch it on demand. So that's just a little bit about that. The other thing I'll promo is Thursday nights. Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, I give a little bit of a color vowel techniques tip clinic. So that's a lot of fun too. And that's through Blue Canoe, our app, our color vowel app. And so we post that quite frequently over there in Facebook. But our Facebook page is a great place to stay in touch with us, as well as our website. Okay.
I can see Liz is looking around there. Mostly we've been putting all the links and everything on our public page, the color vowel chart page, and then not as much right now is in the private group, which you can get into through training and things like that. My color vowel community, the links aren't all there. So,
Thank
but
you.
definitely go to the public page. Everything is right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I'll just finish with that clarification. It's all tech, but our color vowel chart public page is called Color Vowel Chart. And that's where you'll find all of our events posted, okay? We do have a private community for those of you who don't know about it. It's for anybody who purchases the Teacher Starter Kit or who completes Color Vowel Basics with us. So that's a special, smaller community of people who already teach with Color Vowel, and we support one another there with additional ideas and support. Okay. Thank you for joining us today. So happy to have you here, and we hope to see you again soon. We'll be back next Wednesday, and send your questions. I will be saving this chat, by the way, so it won't be lost, and I can come back and answer any questions that went unanswered. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Happy
Thank
Friday.
you.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Stay healthy.
Bye.
Stay safe. Stay physically distant, but socially close.
Yes.
All right. Take care.